Hey everybody, it's Sunday evening, and you know what time that is. It is time to open up the lounge, to light the fire, to get out the good snacks, not the cheese ball things that the kids actually enjoy, and chat about TTRPGs.
Those are disgusting.
They are, and the worst part is they like linger, right? They stick to the roof of your mouth and just yeah, yuck. So how's everybody doing? Um, it's we had Invisible Sunday today. It was fun. You should go check it out. The video's up on our YouTube channel that you can get from our link tree, which is in chat. Um, it was very, very enlightening, and scaring the players is always fun. So yay. Um, we got
Asshole.
yeah, you love me. We got to play V Rising on Friday. That's kind of a fun little game. Very much a construction type game. If you played Valheim, it's very much in a similar vein, except instead of Vikings, vampires, which is kind of neat. Both Joanne and I have been kind of in a vampire-y World of Darkness kind of kick, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But so that's been kind of fun. Um, so yeah, and as we've said in other other streams, we finished our move, or at least we're physically in Virginia and we're no longer in Michigan. So yay. Um, that could be a lot worse, but unpacking sucks too. So um, we're dealing with that right now, and that's no fun. But it too shall pass. So Joanne, what are we talking about tonight? Besides TTRPGs, because I'm not our kids and you're not a dad, and so when our kids ask what we're having for dinner and you can't answer food, when I ask what we're talking about, you don't get to answer TTRPGs. So there,
Okay. I'm not going to answer TTRPGs. We're talking about gaming.
screw you.
Okay. Tonight we're going to talk about chocolate. Two-player RPGs, duet gaming, solo gaming, co-op gaming, and the Oracle system, along with player absences.
Wow, that's a mouthful. Okay. So it sounds like what we're doing is we're talking about reduced party gaming of various and sundry methods. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And
And chocolate.
and chocolate. What kind of chocolate are we talking about?
Toblerone.
Toblerone. All right. That's the toffee stuff, isn't it?
I guess it's from Switzerland, so. Normally it comes in a big
Yeah, the triangle one.
triangle, triangle, but I bought this bag of little ones, and they're really, really good.
I don't know that I've ever actually had Toblerone.
Nice catch.
Isn't it though? All right. So um reduced party gaming. So why would that happen? We've got
Life, because life finds a way.
guys, it's sad, but I knew that was coming. I opened my mouth and I said what I said, and I knew that that was coming. It's scary.
The reason why I suggested that we talk about the whole player absence and the reduced player gaming is because, like today, we had an issue where one of our players who sent Chris Harris plays Sterling Price was not able to make our Invisible Sun game tonight. So sometimes it's okay. We were still able to play our game, but other times it's harder. If you have a smaller group, if you've only got 2 or 3 people, it's harder to run a game. It's harder to play a game. Um, or if you've got a group of 2 or 3 people and nobody wants to DM. Because let's be honest, I'm going to speak from personal experience. Sometimes DMing and trying to plan and take care of all the problems and make sure you have everything ready and good to go is exhausting.
Amen. Amen to that. So yes, we did have one player missing today, and um, what I'll say is that in this particular case, I cheated. I happen to be playing a game where there are explicit rules covering player absences. And God bless Monty Cook for that. That was I've never seen a game that actually did that, and Invisible Sun is amazing that way. So there is an actual story reason why players might be absent from the game, and so it's not quite so bad. But even then, we've canceled sessions when enough players couldn't make it. My personal rule of thumb is I try not to run a game with less than half the party. Um, I I have to catch the rest of the party up, and that's hard. I have to try and come up with something for a party that's drastically reduced to do that's both relevant to the current story and challenge appropriate. And that's sometimes tough to do. And it's a hard deal, having people gone is tough. Um, and so, that's when I look at what to do, that's kind of my guideline is if there's less than half the people, I try and reschedule. Um, just for that reason. But there are other modes of play, other kinds of games for when that is not the exception, that is the norm. And so we're going to talk some about those tonight. So let's go the other extreme. It's not a six-player game. What happens when there's just one of you? Aside from the snide Ermagurge, you can't find people to play with online. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of D&D players online. How come you can't find anybody to play with? Aside from that snide bullcrap, because that's what it is. Um, why?
No, 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 look. I'm going to interject on that one. I will say, how come I can't find any to play with? Because I have standards, right? I have people that I like playing with. I ain't gonna try and run around with some bullshit war gamer like I move 5 feet this direction so that I can use this ability and that ability plus these bonuses and that bonuses, and I'm going to roll the dice now. No, you can find those. Finding a good player or a good DM who's willing to run with it is a little harder.
So what she's talking about is the style of gaming that we particularly enjoy, which is more narrative. And there are people out there that treat role playing games is tactical problems, and realistically, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not my jam. That's not her jam. It never really has been, and I don't see it ever happening. So why bother? You know, if we already know that we're not going to play with those kinds of people, that's not going to work. So we got to
Except when
find.
he's playing ASL.
Why you got to bring the exception into this?
Because you give me that look, and I find it really adorable when you do. So he plays a game called Advanced Squad Leader. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but he enjoys it, and I support him 100%. But it is very much a tactical combat game. It is a tactical combat game that uses little bitty cardboard cutouts, and the scenarios that you run with this game are based on tactical combat that was done during World War II.
So the game was originally created by Avalon Hill, um, and they were the premier wargaming company for years and years and years and years and years. Um, the style of gaming is what's known as hex and counter. The counters being those little cardboard chits, and that was, you know, before Warhammer, before that really became popular. The predominant wargaming that was done outside of military simulations and sand tables and things like that was hex and counter wargaming. Um, you know, even games like Risk, where it wasn't necessarily a cardboard shit, but it was a little plastic one or a two or a three or an X or something like that, right? They represented other things. Um, Before that, they actually did use figurines as well. I want to say it was C.S. Lewis that was one of the first, if not the first, people to bring out war games, and he wrote a book, and I don't remember what it's called, but you know, using the little porcelain pewter or whatever the heck they used, men that they had. Um, they've been gaming with blocks and in unit insignias for years in the military as simulation. So this it's yet at home. This was the standard for a long time. It's gotten beyond that, but
C.S. Lewis in a time of war.
that one.
Because I has Google.
So anyway, yes, if I really want to get my tactical on, I pull out Advanced Squad Leader, and her eyes glaze over, and we go on.
Look, I'm sorry. All right, I tried. But the book, the original book that he handed to me, was this thick. And yeah. And then we
Yep.
brought me the starter kit, and I tried to learn from the starter kit, but I had a few issues with trying to play with people who were more interested in winning than in actually teaching the game. So I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then he introduced me to Battletech, and I did enjoy playing Battletech. So there, I can play war games. They just have to include shiny figurines for me to play with.
We have 3 box sets worth of those. So anyway, um, back to the topic at hand. Um,
You didn't really want to stay on topic, did you?
we we typically seek out people that you know, are more into narrative gaming and things like that than the norm, and will often, you know, play fast and loose with the rules. And that's a little bit harder to find the right group, the right feel. And so often we're kind of left to our own devices, and that can be a tough thing to deal with. But we've come across some very well put together, um, very helpful ways to deal with that kind of gaming, and we're gonna hopefully share some of those with you tonight, and maybe broaden your horizons a little bit. And afterwards, who knows? We'll get to that when we get to that.
I will state that over the past 4 to 5 years that we've been playing together and actually looking, and then over this past year with Angel Citadel, we have encountered a number of people that I am more than happy to have sit at my table. One of them is Fesnarax the Fantastic,
Who is
Kelton.
sitting in the chat room right now?
Yeah. Oh, he is. Okay. Yeah. He's an excellent player. I love playing with him. He's in Josh's Invisible Sun game, and I've run some D&D games with him, and I had a lot of fun. His wife Liz is a wonderful woman, and I love playing with her too. Zach Norton is awesome.
And his wife Liz, or his girlfriend Liz. Sorry.
Yes, his girlfriend Liz. Those two are awesome people. Um, so yeah. Jeffrey Boring, he's probably not in the chat tonight because he's with his husband, but he's an awesome player, and I had a lot of fun playing with him when I did a FAFO game of D&D. We had a handful of people in the game, and we were having a great deal of fun.
Good evening, Meridian 3. Welcome. I'm sure we actually probably know who you are, but you're gonna have to forgive me because keeping track of like usernames and real people and cross-linking them in my head really sucks. So if I should know who you are and I forget, please apologize or please accept my apologies. But we're glad you're here. So
Yeah, it took him 2 years to realize that my name was not actually Cat.
anyway, we're not going to talk about how stupid Joshua is. So her online name for the longest time was Katrilla, Katrilla, and I want to say you have an email that was oh yeah, sure, you bet. Good to see you, Ryan. Um, she had an email that was Joanne Cat.
Yes.
And I literally thought that at least her middle name or maybe her last name or something was Cat for a long, long time. Um, and felt really, really stupid when she corrected me finally. Like she let it go on for forever.
Well, in my defense, I had been called Cat for a bit over a decade. And that's because my characters, my MMO characters, always had the name Cat, Kat, as part of their name. So everybody called me Cat. Everybody knew me as Cat because it was the easiest, you know, because I was not all about, this was back in the early 90s to late 90s. No, don't share your name on the internet. They'll be able to find you. They made it come and hurt you. And now I'm 43 and it's like, yeah, my name is. Come on. So yeah. It's a pleasure for you to join us. I'm pretty sure I have MeWe, but since I never remember to log in, that's why Josh does a better job of doing the social part than I do. I'm not good at it. I forget. I get distracted. All right, so let's talk about. So we talked some about player absences. Let's talk about two-player RPGs. We've got a couple of those. One is Knights Black Agent Solo Ops. That's very much a. I want to almost say that's kind of like World of Darkness meets Dresden Files.
It's more World of Darkness meets X-Files.
Is there really a difference between Dresden Files and X Files?
Yes, there's really a difference between Dresden Files and X-Files.
They both deal with weird, creepy shit.
Not aliens. Not government conspiracies.
Dude, him fucking with the Winter Fae, I would say that that's a government conspiracy all over it. It's just in a different dimension, okay? Yes, I am mostly just teasing him about that because I like giving him shit and making him make that face. Especially when he does the whole tongue thing, like, I can't believe she's doing this again. So let's see. We have the Knights. It's World of Darkness meets X Files. Actually, wouldn't that make it kind of like Call of Cthulhu?
Yeah, except without the great old ones. But yeah, basically.
So yeah, it's an interesting read. I've read it. We haven't played it yet. I'm looking at it. I don't know. What else have we got that's two-player?
Co-op games.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of those.
Ironsworn, Starforge,
Starforge.
DM yourselves.
Oh, and then that vampire one, the Vampire Tourniquet.
Yes, there is. Well, okay, that's technically a solo game, but we're going to try it co-op anyway. Renegade Game Studios, and Paradox Interactive released a supplement for Vampire the Masquerade V5 called Tourniquet. And that is a solo set of rules to play Vampire V5. But at some point, we're going to try and figure out how to make it co-op. And by co-op, what we're talking about is DM-less role-playing with both the players playing together. So if you have two people, instead of trying to figure out, okay, one of them's got to be a DM and the other one's going to be a player, and then the DM has to figure out what the one player is going to do, and the one player's got to figure out how to deal with the challenges that the DM throws at them without having an entire party to back them up, and that being a big mess. You expand that by turning the GM or the DM into essentially an oracle, and both the players play characters.
Oh, it looks like there's a bunch of them on itch.io for two-player games.
So we'll have to go check out Itch.
Yeah, looks like they've got something called Starcross, the two-player game of Forbidden Love. I don't know that I'd be able to play that one because I'm sorry, the song that would keep running through my head would be that Star song.
Which one?
If we could rewrite the stars.
Oh.
Look, Zendaya is somebody I'm really fond of watching in movies, and she was in The Greatest Showman, and the Rewrite the Stars got stuck in my head for the longest time.
No worries.
Of course, now I, surf TikTok a lot. So,
And that's worse.
oh my god, we're gonna have to buy that one. I'm sorry. Clever Girl, a wretched and alone game. Survival in a failed dinosaur theme park.
There you go.
Yeah, you're gonna have to buy that for me.
I'm down with that.
Oh wow. That looks like fun. And it's only $10, so I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay.
And then you're gonna buy it for me. For those of you that are wondering, the reason why he has to buy it for me is because we share one itch.io account. And when he buys something, we save it onto a hard drive so we can both access it. But it's just faster for him to buy it. So, welcome to Dinoland, a dinosaur themed park ravaged by escaped predators. You don't know what caused the incident that set the dinosaurs free, but it was catastrophic. A pack of highly intelligent and oddly fixated raptors are hunting the last surviving human in the park. Will these prehistoric predators claim one final victim, or will the inhuman survive long enough to be rescued?
That could be interesting.
And it looks like you can play a human side, a raptor side, and then you and one other person can replay human versus raptor, or you can do a cooperative play.
Interesting.
That's kind of cool. And it uses the Wretched and Alone SRD written by Matt Sanders.
I don't know that I've heard of that one. It's funny. The longer we do this, the more surprised I get that there's something that I haven't heard of. Because I feel like we're pretty plugged into the TTRPG space. You know what I mean?
Well, to be fair, they are producing faster than we can run. Because, all right, let's think about it. Back when you and I first, and we're going to digress, but back when you and I first started playing, there were some big dogs on the field, and that was pretty much it. Anybody trying to do it indie would up shit creek without paddle. Now, with the digital advancements, with the opening of the SRDs, including Monty Cook Games, MCG is going to be doing an SRD for the Cypher system soon. So we're watching for that too. But with the steps of the SRDs in uh, things like itch.io coming out and then Drive Through RPG, all these places that you can actually publish and get your stuff out there for people to find has changed the field.
That's true.
Because before you had to do it and then you had to find somebody who was willing to invest to where you could get it printed, and then you had to get it into a game store, and then you had to hope somebody would want it and buy it. Now it's, I'm going to slap this together and throw it up on the internet and see what happens.
Well, and let's face it, most of that isn't much better than it used to be. You throw it up on the internet and it flops. But every once in a while, you run across a real winner, and it makes it hits the grand slam, the unexpected, home team rally.
Okay, I just linked you one. You're gonna have to buy it for me just because I want it, because for the Eagles. Only One Bet, a compilation of fanfic themed RPGs.
I'm afraid.
Oh, come on, it's not that bad. We've done honey and hot wax. I mean, come on.
This is true.
Soulmate AU.
Oh, good grief.
This looks cute. I'm gonna say it. It's very pink, but it looks really cute. I'm gonna notice that a lot of the games that are meant for two tend to be either competitive and cooperative, or they're storytelling games.
Well, I guess, that's not all that surprising. I mean, think of the dynamic that you and I have, right? So those of you that are new or haven't been with us for very long, um, probably don't know. Not only do we talk about RPGs and play RPGs and things like that, but she and I both write. And actually, if you head out to our website, angelcitadel.com, you can find some of our original fiction there. But the dynamic that we have when we're writing is very often, um, it feels like an interaction like you'd find in a role playing game, right? So I'll write a paragraph and she'll write a paragraph and I'll write a paragraph and she'll write a paragraph, or I'll write a couple of three paragraphs and she'll write a paragraph and then she'll I'll write a paragraph and she'll write a couple of three paragraphs, and it's very much that back and forth like you'd see between a player and a DM, or a game master, right? So, one person will describe um, a scene, and then the other will react to it, and then they'll react, and then it'll react again, and it goes back and forth, or even it helps in writing dialogue, right? So one of the common things that I hear is that writing dialogue is hard because it's writing both sides of the conversation, and it feels weird to be omniscient, for both halves. But with us writing, in pairs, we can go back and forth, and it feels almost like a real conversation, um, because the voice that we have is different, if that makes sense. So, when we play two-player games or something like that, um, it's very much something that we enjoy doing, is getting into the social interactions, the social encounters, the intrigue, or the shopping trips, if you will. All right, because we can dive into that dialogue style interaction and go back and forth, and it just feels natural. Um, and we don't have to struggle or push it or anything.
I have found a game that we need to send Dean.
I'm listening.
Rivals. In my superhero school is a lasers and feelings inspired two-player game based around being opposing students in a school for superheroes. Will you be the calm and analytical blue student or the fiery and punch-happy red student? All you can be sure of is your paths will clash quite a bit over the course of this game.
So, for those of you that don't know, Lasers and Feelings is a game by John Harper, the guy that did Blades in the Dark. And so, yeah, that sounds very Dean.
So, any of you that don't know, Dean is one of our friends. His name is Alpha Dean. He hangs out on the Cypher system. He is on our Discord server as well. But most of the best place you're going to find him is on the CU server, Cypher Unlimited. but he is very much a superheroes aficionado. He loves superheroes. He loves talking about them. He loves playing them. He loves reading about them. And so, yeah.
Very, very much. I totally agree. So, yeah, we could totally get that for him. So one of the we've talked a little bit about solo games, and for those of you that don't know how those typically work, or what I was talking about when I mentioned oracles. Oracles are think
Tables.
yeah, they replace a GM with tables, or in different cases drawn cards, right? Um, Typically you ask the oracle a question. So for instance, let's say you're playing, Vampire the Masquerade, right? And you walk into a club and you're looking for a contact, um, that's typically there. The question of the oracle might be, um, is my contact there that night? And you roll, and it's probably a percentile chance or whatever, based on, is it favorable, is it not favorable, and typically the answers are, um, yes or no, but they could also be yes and, or no and. Those are the other common ones. And so what you have is, yes and, okay, so your contact's there, but he's got, five other guys around him and they've all got submachine guns or something weird. Or, whatever. It gives you a condition, right? And you ask the oracle these kinds of questions, and there's a table or series of tables that you roll on, to give you prompt answers. Not full answers, not complete answers, but prompt answers, because you're still the one telling the story.
That makes me think of those GM Apprentice cards that I've got. Hang on, I'm going to go find those.
That is another form of oracle deck. So we purchased, um, a a series of decks from Drive Through RPG, print on demand, the Drive Through cards or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Called GM Apprentice. Sorry, you're gonna have to excuse my coughing here. I can't stop.
I'll take over. He purchased a set of cards. It's called the Game Master's Apprentice Storytelling Cards. I've used these in. I've talked about these before. Typically using them as in games as descriptors. But one of the things it has is like likely odds, uh, and then you roll a dice, and then where the dice number is bad, even, good. Um, and then you can also get descriptors from these. But one of the other things I was going to bring up is when we were talking about solo games, try to. There's
Tri-Cube Tales.
Tricube Tales has a solo deck.
That's right. It is also an Oracle style game or style deck, and they've got, they have like one page, scenario, like setting pages, that go with their rule decks or their rule books, um, to to do
There we go.
yeah, storytelling games, but they don't have to be fantasy or they don't have to be science fiction. They've got all different kinds of them. But this works as a card deck, and it has different icons and stuff like that for Oracle purposes as well as visual prompts.
For the Tricube Tails, you combine it with a D6.
And then for GM's Apprentice, I dropped the link in chat. That's Larcenous Designs.
And they come in regular. There's a science fiction, a fantasy, and a horror one. There's the regular. I'm gonna grab it.
And Tricube Tales is Zadmar Games. That link is also in chat. So feel free to check those out. Those are some really cool things that we've kind of latched onto and use.
All right. With GM's Apprentice, they all come with what's called the GMA card, which is basically telling you what each part of the card is, because it's not just one picture, but several pictures. So here's, see if I can, yeah. So here's one side. And then the other side also has information on it. Things like likely odds, keywords like deviate, immaculate vehicle, and then things like you can hear an ominous chuckle. You see something swaying in the wind. You feel tingling arms. You smell spoiled milk. And then like belongings, like if they've killed somebody, you've got belongings. You can grab names, catalyst, virtue, location, and vice. And no, that we weren't hired by any of these people to actually talk about their stuff. I just like talking about their stuff.
And quite frankly, all this stuff is stuff that we've purchased on our own. We actually get very few people sending us random stuff. And that's fine, right? But um, it means we're not really beholden to anybody. So all the stuff that we own is either stuff that we wanted to try, or it's just cool stuff that we said, hey, we want this as part of our collection. So when we talk about it, we're just bragging on it.
Yes. I wanted the shiny thing, so I bought the shiny thing.
Well, and not just that, right? But the shiny thing is useful. And so we're going to tell everybody else how useful the shiny thing is. And, maybe that helps them in their game with a problem that they're having. Because we're not the only people that ever have these problems. Like, what the heck do you do when there's only two of you?
Yep. And I'll be honest, yes, in a lot of cases, you could break out and play a board game. However, I'm lazy. Because you know what you do when you break out a board game? You got to set it up. You got to take everything out of the box and you got to set it up. And that takes time. And then after you play, you get like maybe an hour or two of playtime, and then you got to put it up.
Very much. And it sucks. Cleanup sucks.
Especially when you get a new one and you've opened it up and you've taken all the little pieces off, little things, and then you got to figure out how you're going to keep all those pieces together. And then you can't close the box because nothing fits quite right anymore.
I hate that.
Unless you're Bear. Invisible Sun Cube guy.
Even well, okay. I would be willing to bet that Bear's Invisible Sun Cube fits the way it's supposed to. But the rest of us normal people can't shut their crap. Um, so yeah, there's oracles and that's typically used in single player games. However, there are games out there like Iron Sworn or Star Forged by Sean Tompkin or DM Yourselves by Tom Scott that use oracles in a co-op capacity to where you have two players or three players even playing on the same side, and then the oracle substitutes for the GM. DM Yourselves is a slightly different take on that. It's a way to look at taking published modules like Dungeons and Dragons Lost Mine of Phandelver or Horde of the Dragon Queen or something, right? And use an oracle to play those modules solo or in a co-op situation. So there's options out there for that. You can even use like the card decks that she showed you earlier with GM Apprentice or whatever, as because really, the Oracle deck, all it is, or the Oracle tables, all they are is prompts. It's not like an actual GM that's feeding specifics back to you. It's giving you something to riff off of.
Which can be a good thing or a bad thing. It can be a good thing if you enjoy riffing off things and discovering and uh, exploring the trenches of your own mind. And it can be a bad thing when you're stuck and you're like, what am I supposed to do now? And then you roll in the oracle and it gives you a prompt and you're like, the fuck?
And yes, you can always re-roll the Oracle. It's not like anything's preventing you from doing that. But that if you're stuck, that's not really any fun either. So let's see, other things. Duet gaming is when you actually decide you want to do one player, one game master. There are a few examples of this. One we've already talked about with Knights Black Agent Solo Ops. Um, there is there is a stream out there that does this with Pathfinder called Party of One. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a husband and wife stream. You can find it. You can find them on Twitter. Um, I'll try and drop the link in chat here as well. But you know, that's one example of um, one person DMing, one person playing, and what that might look like. Sorry, party of two, not party of one.
Yes.
And again, they're not getting or paying us to do this either. But hey, just in case you're curious, um, they're on in 7 minutes and 50 seconds. So, um, let's see here. Is there anything else we wanted to cover tonight?
I don't think so.
I think that about covers it. So yeah, two-player RPGs, duet gaming, solo gaming, co-op gaming, and oracles. Player absence. It can be hard finding people to play with sometimes. It can be hard dealing with reduced party uh, party content, and sometimes you just might want to play with your significant other and do whatever. And so one of the things that we're looking at doing, and we'll probably actually end up doing, is I think we're going to swap out our time here in the lounge for a while. I think what we're going to do is we're going to start looking at doing some sort of either duet or co-op Oracle gaming, and streaming that live. So
Yep.
keep an eye out here. It'll be at the same time, and
Well, I figure, the reason why I suggest it is because we've been talking about what to do for a while now and how to do it. And I think that it might be a good idea for us to actually show these things in actions, including, the occasional bratty player. No, I'm the brat, right? I'm the brat. No, you're the chaos incarnate of derailing all the things. I'm the brat. Of course, I derail.
somebody's insisting.
Yes. Well, how about this? We'll take turns.
We'll take turns.
But we're going to, we're still going to do advice. We will probably go back to writing the advice articles and producing those once a month. Um, because with this move, I want to try and do something a little different, a little more relaxing, um, and a little more fun, not just for us, but hopefully for you guys too. Maybe change it up a little bit because, I don't know about you guys, but I get tired of, just randomly rambling. Unless I'm doing it to annoy people, and then I enjoy it.
Imagine that.
Look, you knew I was an asshole at times when you met me.
Yeah,
I never hid that part of me. I also never hid the part of me that's like, yeah, Fafo.
so anyway,
And hopefully, if you guys have been watching and you guys want to come in and maybe do a couple of sessions of the playing around and trying out these different systems with us, playing with us, that'd be awesome. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have people on board, online, gaming with us, playing with us, talking with us. Those of you that were not comfortable just, shooting questions because we're rambling on about a topic. Let's be honest, I will ramble about anything at any time for any reason. No questions, no problems.
she's not joking.
No, I'm not joking. I started talking with his dad today and started talking about gaming stuff. And he's just kind of sitting there going, and then he finally ends the conversation with the question of, "Are you having fun?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I am." He's like, "Okay, that's great." And then he goes back to his book.
It was fun. I'm not gonna lie, it was funny.
He had no idea what he was talking about, but he was just perfectly content to just sit there and listen to me ramble.
So yeah, if you want to hang out with us and watch this train wreck happen, we're gonna try and figure out something else to do here. And I don't know if we'll be back next week,
No, 2 weeks.
but it'll probably be 2 weeks. Um, Give us time to set this up and at least
Figure out
attempt
which
to do
game
it
we want
right.
to play.
That too.
Because I'm thinking Fangboy. VTN, man. VTN.
I'm
I've
gonna
been
play
on it.
VPN.
So, as I said earlier, I have been kind of addicted to TikTok, and a couple of the people that I follow on TikTok, I'm addicted to watching. They do Vampire the Masquerade cosplay for their videos, and it's just I love watching them because they do their stories together as part of a series, and it's awesome to watch them because they're having fun and they're role playing, and you're not really catching the combat or the fighting stuff, but just seeing how happy and excited they are and how much they love it makes me happy because I'm all about the gaming. If you're playing, I want to watch you play, especially. Well, I don't want to sit and watch you play. I like watching a little bit of the play, but not. I can't. I don't have the patience to sit through an hour or three.
And I can if it's really interesting. And so I've said it before and I'll say it again. If I'm watching The Hole in the World, heck yeah, I'll sit through 3 hours of that. Zach, love you. You're a great storyteller. Your cast, great storytellers. It's effortless. But others, yeah, I agree with you. Watching over much is excessive. Now that said, if I can find a good um, live play of a game that I'm interested in playing that gets really into the rules or something like that, I'll watch that just to see, okay, is this something that I'm really going to enjoy, or do they get bogged down in minutia because that's what the rule book says, or is it somewhere in between? And so that's become a tool for me as well. But so yeah, we're going to start playing. We will probably play Vampire, um, and we'll see where that takes us. Um, we will still be gaming on Fridays, so you can check us out. We're going to be playing V Rising probably still because that's been kind of fun. Um, that'll probably change too at some point. We've got I don't know, 5 or 10 other co-op games that we've got on Steam that we can play. And quite frankly, the games are co-op because we enjoy playing with each other, not against each other. Um, Kind of like RPGs, right? Um, and then every other Sunday, I'm still running Invisible Sun. Um, we'll see how long it takes them to get through what I've got set for them. But you know, after that, we'll see what happens. Probably start another game. So
Chaos.
chaos, and we're doing this because we enjoy doing it, right? So if we have fun, then we're gonna do it. And as long as we don't have, or if we don't have fun, we're gonna change what we're doing. So we're glad you're here. We're glad you're joining us for the ride. And from our Citadel to yours, happy gaming.
Happy gaming.